February 10th. The North Vietnamese Communist Party newspaper boasts that the U.S. faces a defeat as disastrous as that suffered by the French at Dien Bien Phu. There is growing concern over the fate of the Marine garrison, as the U.S. press also revives the specter of Dien Bien Phu. At stake now is more than a key military stronghold. The Communists are out to inflict heavy casualties on the American troops with a major victory, so that the U.S. would enter negotiations on terms favorable to Hanoi.
The Battle of Quai Son. This was a very traumatic experience for the American people, but I never had any real concern about Quai Son. I had a few restless nights, but I had full confidence that we were going to win the Battle of Quai Son because we had the means.
The Americans have protection from big 175-millimeter guns at Camp Carroll, about 17 miles to the east, and at the rock pile about 12 miles to the northeast. Inside the garrison, the troops have a handful of tanks, anti-tank weapons, 4.2-inch mortars, and about 20 artillery pieces, including 105 and 155-millimeter howitzers. But their secret weapon is their air power. Fighter bombers of the Navy, Marines, and Air Force, capable of mounting 600 flights a day, plus the terrifying power of B-52 bombers that can drop 500 and 750-pound bombs on 50 bomber runs a day. And then there are the supply planes, giant C-130s and 123s that build a lifeline through the shrapnel-infested skies to keep the Marines supplied with food, ammunition, medical supplies, building materials, and mail from home.
And according to our calculations, we could supply Quai Son by parachute drop, and we had prepared ourselves for this contingency some 18 months before. During the ensuing period, I had required the commanders to rely from time to time on aerial resupply to practice the system and get the pilots accustomed to dropping these supplies in all weather conditions. So when the time arrived, we were able to supply that garrison of some 5,000 people. We had built up an airfield that would take C-130s. And we put radar on the airfield, or GCA actually, so that we could bring in C-130s and 123s in all weather. And when it got too hot for them to land, having lost a couple of C-130s, then we started bringing them in for low-level extraction, where the supplies would be dropped or let to the ground from the air platform by parachute. The result, of course, was that we supplied them.
February 13th. Marine casualties mount when a U.S. Marine platoon is ambushed by the Viet Cong 800 yards outside the barbed wire. Throughout the month of February, the North Vietnamese artillery continues to pound the garrison. Some of their guns are apparently dug into the caves across the Laos border 10 miles away, believed to include 130-millimeter and 152-millimeter guns and rockets. The Americans counter with airstrikes and B-52 bombings, pinpointing the advancing communists only yards from the base perimeter.
The Marines were told to button up. I told them to confine their patrols to close-in patrols for their own security, because I did not want them venturing too far afield where men would get killed and wounded or lost, so that we could not afford to put our firepower in the area where we knew they were located. And we started pouring it on. And that's the thought that came to mind when I called this Operation Niagara. And this is exactly what happened. The bombs fell all the month of February and all the month of March.
Arclight is the code name for these terrifying bombers. Coming in at 20,000 feet and literally destroying the target area with their 500 and 750-pound bombs. The North Vietnamese troops are forced to dig in keep their heads down and concentrate on avoiding being scorched by napalm or pulverized by the bombs. When bad weather comes, and at night, they bomb by radar, pinpointing their targets by means of a ground-controlled system called Sky Spot.